Hi guys, welcome back to the Drive Live channel. In today's video we're going to be talking about fuel prices and why my Volvo has been my saviour during the fuel crisis. Now I just thought I'd start the video to say so I haven't uploaded for about a week and a half, which is the longest I've ever gone without uploading. For the past 2 years I've made a video at least every other day. So Mrs. DL and I went on holiday, and then I've been away with work, so it was a nice natural pause. Yeah, so I've just actually filled up with diesel. I've had to come over the border from England to Wales to fill up, because I'm going to go back down to London for a work conference. And I needed to get diesel, and in England, where I live, all the fuel stations are out of diesel. So I spoke to the owner of the petrol station at this one, and they told me they were going to have a big delivery of diesel late last night. So I go through there every day to work anyway. So yeah, we arranged for me to get some diesel so I can get down to London. So yeah, this car. Well, obviously the UK fuel crisis is something that's just suddenly appeared. I think it's a combination of the media whipping people up into a frenzy. Someone made an offhand comment about the fact that the lorry driver shortages would cause a fuel shortage. Suddenly that's all over the papers. Everybody's gone out and bought diesel and petrol. They've been filling up jerry cans, filling up tanks, so that people who need it for their cars then can't go out because people have been stockpiling it, and people have even been selling diesel on Facebook Marketplace. That's how crazy things have got. But for me, really, it hasn't been too much of an issue. In Wales, as soon as you cross over the border here, there are no queues at any petrol stations, and I think, I don't know why, to be honest. People just seem to be more relaxed here. The petrol stations themselves said that they've been busy and they've been selling out, but the people haven't been queuing all the way down the road for diesel. So I think it's an interesting difference between sort of the English chaos and sort of the Welsh relative serenity and the whole sort of national issue. But yeah, so this week I've been down to London, and it was an eye-opening experience, to be honest. So I filled up at that same petrol station on Monday morning this week, filming this on Saturday, and I filled up because I knew I was going down to London, and I was able to drive down to London and back again using half a tank of diesel, which left me with a few hundred miles worth of getting backwards and forwards to work as well. So that was massively helpful. The fact that this Volvo has such a large fuel tank meant that I was able to get into London and back again. Now, the issue a lot of people have had, and when I was down at the conference they talked about it as well, is that all of the motorway services that I went past, so M5, M42, M40, M25, every single service station was out of diesel or fuel in general, which meant that people actually having to camp in their cars because they were relying on the diesel on the motorway network. So yeah, it was quite an eye-opening experience, and I was just so thankful. We've actually got sheep in the road here. We've got a sheep walking straight towards me. Hello there, sir. Are you aware that this is a 60-mile-an-hour road? Welcome to Wales, people. Anyway, yeah, so it was quite an eye-opening experience to realise that there was no fuel. It was really impacting a lot of people. Obviously, this car with its 72-litre fuel tank proved almost the perfect car for this scenario. I mean, I managed to fill up. And I was pretty confident actually that sort of 800 miles that I would get from a tank of diesel in this car would last me until the crisis sort of blew over. It hasn't quite lasted me until the crisis blew over. I sort of expected it to be sorted within a week, but it hasn't. But fortunately, yeah, I was able to get some diesel this morning. So yeah, as a car, the Volvo S80 V70, they get quite a lot of flack for perhaps not being the most efficient that they could be, especially with this D5 engine. Now you could get the D4, which is capable of mid-60s mpg on a run, which is obviously far better. But I was actually quite impressed with how this car coped on the journey. I was driving intentionally economically, so I was driving sort of 65 miles an hour on the motorway, following lorries where I could, etc. Times I was travelling, it was quite light traffic anyway, midnight. And I actually managed to achieve over 50 miles per gallon over the 800 miles. Bearing in mind only 450 miles was actually sort of motorway driving. And that is fantastic for a car with 5 cylinders, 2 turbos, that weighs over 2 tons. And I think what's nice is the fact that you can potentially get 1,000 miles out of 72 litres of diesel or one run. Means that for sort of long road trips, you're much better off in a car like this rather than a modern car. So my dad has a BMW 330e, and even as a 2021 car, the fuel tank is tiny, and the electric range is about 30 miles. So in total, he can only do around 350, 400 miles in one go. So he's filling it up quite regularly, whereas I can do double that distance without having to fill up. But it doesn't save you any money in the long run, but it's just that ability to travel long distances without having to massively change your driving habits or plan, or it's just a nice sort of reserve to have. So yeah, I was really impressed with this car. And obviously, it's superbly comfortable throughout. But so today I was actually the most empty the car I've ever been, with a 60 mile. The first time in 2 years of ownership, nearly, that the fuel lights come on, because I normally get to about a quarter of a tank, and all of my commutes over the last sort of year have been past the petrol station, so I'd stop filling up. And there we go. And partly was because I didn't have to pay out massive chunks of money at a time. Although it's no cheaper, it was easier for me to swallow that I was sticking £70 in rather than £100. But I've just stuck in £92 of diesel, which is, yeah, I think the most I've put in is £101, I think, which was when I first bought the car. The auction company literally left enough diesel in it to drive over the road to the petrol station. That's how little diesel it had in. So it was, yeah, from entirely empty all the way to full was just over £100. So yeah, I mean, I'd be interested to know how you guys have been affected by this fuel crisis, whether you've been caught out. I think a lot of us in these cars, if we've been able to get a full tank of diesel, I know a lot of places are rationing as well. I filled the Jeep up yesterday in a town in England, and we were only allowed to put £20 of diesel in, which isn't that much for that car. At 21 miles per gallon, £20 doesn't get you very far, and it was almost not worth doing it. But we thought we'd grab it while we could, because we were running low anyway. So yeah, let me know if you've been caught out at all. And I think what this whole thing shows, I think there's a lot of issues with demand, and the fact that currently petrol stations, when there's a surge in demand, can't cope. Obviously certain political things around the country haven't happened in ideal circumstances, which has impacted that as well. Now, when it comes to, there's been a lot of people spouting off about the fact that they've got electric cars and that they haven't had an issue, and I think that is right for some people. However, early adopters of electric cars who haven't got a charging port at home have always had this issue. fact that they turn up to a charging station hoping that it works, and if it doesn't, then they have to try and rapidly think of another idea. And I think as a nation we need to try and get this whole fueling mobility thing sorted pretty quick. I mean, we've got different solutions coming. So we've got battery cars, we've got hydrogen coming as well, which I think is an exciting prospect. I work within the automotive hydrogen industry, and the way things are going are looking really promising for hydrogen as well. So yeah, I think we're not sort of quite out of the woods yet in terms of how we fuel our cars. And at this conference I was at, they were talking about perhaps the major fuel companies that have been involved with this shortage, and the ones that have had to close stations have done it because they've also recently made a massive investment into the electric charging network. And in the last week alone, more electric cars have been sold than in the entire sort of 4 years previously combined. So there's also that train of thought in people that perhaps this is part of the plan to push us into alternatively fueled vehicles. But yeah, I'm not sure what that is. I think they have their benefits, but I think what a lot of people don't realise is that in order to build, for example, a new Polestar 2, it takes over 3 tons of CO2 to build that alone. And what then that means is, whereas I can drive this car where the CO2 is already being emitted, I could drive this car for a substantial amount of miles before I've actually emitted more CO2 than just me personally buying a Polestar 2. And I was actually offered one as a company car, but I didn't for this reason really. Partly because I love the S80. I didn't really want to change out into something that I can't own physically, that I can't maintain myself. It would sort of ruin the dynamic of the channel slightly, and I haven't got the luxury of being able to have 4 or 5 cars on the driveway. So yeah, it's an interesting time. But no, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We're going to be resuming service as normal with the video schedule now. We just had a very busy time. It was just quite nice to have a few sort of days off making YouTube. Not that it's particularly difficult to do, but yeah, I mean everybody has a holiday from their work. It was quite nice just to take a few days as well. So yeah, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know in the comments below if you've had any issues with this fuel crisis, chaos, and malarkey, and whether it's made you consider going to an electric car, or consider another form of fueling your vehicle, or changing your sort of driving and lifestyle habits to use less fuel. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next video. Cheers.